Hi, I'm Tom Chick. Let's play a game of Raxxon. I have here 6 characters, 2 of whom will be in play for the first game. The second game we'll do 2 of the remaining characters, and then the third game will be with whoever's left over. Let's roll this d6. So a 1 is Olivia Brown. She will be player number 1. And we will re-roll the 6. A 3 is Brian Lee. We have the mayor and the doctor of, I don't know what city this is. Dead of Winterville. That's the city we're in. Okay, so Olivia Brown, we rolled her first. She's our first player. I will be using this little tiny red cube, which is not an authorized game component. This is technically a mod that I have applied to this game. Plaid Hat does not condone using it. It'll indicate whose turn it is, and as we're executing the consequences that have been triggered, we'll use this as well. Here is the infected supply. These are the 15 infected that have not been shuffled into our population draw deck. I'm putting the infected supply over here. You can't see it. Why would you want to? It's just a bunch of angry zombies. Give our population deck another quick shuffle. And we will set our population pile here. Here is the Raxxon deck. In here, there are 9 cards that will move up this Raxxon track. When the Raxxon track hits the 8, we have lost the game. I don't think I've lost a game. I mean, that's how I almost always lose games. You can also lose games by running out of the infected supply, but Raxxon gets too powerful for me before that ever happens. All right, let's set this here. We are going to put into play our crowd for day 1, which is 3 by 3. And Olivia Brown, for her first turn, will investigate. It is a hostile. Brian Lee will investigate. Olivia Brown will I should go ahead. I'm thinking of the journalist. Nope, she's going to investigate. Awesome. Brian Lee is going to investigate. It is a carrier. Logan Isobe. He looks like a YouTuber. All right, Olivia Brown will investigate the middle of the crowd. Father Fitzpatrick. Brian Lee will investigate over here. All right, we have 2 hostiles in play. Our second hostile means we flip up another card. Celebrity Colby Dauch. I'm not sure how to say his last name. He's the CEO of Plaid Hat. So what does that tell you about a game when you designate the CEO of your publisher a celebrity? All right, let's see. We have a lot that we can do here. I think Brian Lee will go door to door. I'm going to look at the top 3 cards of the draw pile. All right, we can do a lot. We will put the carrier on the bottom. Start with the family. Put that action token there, and now that we've resolved it, this consequence is in effect. Olivia Brown will investigate. All right, it is a 3rd hostile. We need to make sure not to trigger a 4th, or we've blown it. Brian Lee will put into play, I forget if this is the family or the hostile. Let's go right here. This is the family. And then for his action, he will investigate. Olivia Brown, for her action, will evacuate this row here. So that's 1 hostile, a family, a familiar, and a susceptible are now in the evacuation pile, which rather than make a pile out of it, I like to keep it spread out here so we can see who's safe and who's left. This moves here. Brian Lee is now adding this hostile here. Let's do that. And then for his action, we'll investigate. Olivia Brown has to resolve a Raxxon card. Raxxon's schemes. Those jerks, they've schemed. So a few things happen. This moves up. If we had any contained quarantine cards, one of them would slip out to the uncontained quarantine. And if we had an untriggered discard pile, it would get shuffled back into that deck. This is now out of play, or it is triggered, which just means it's not going to come back and haunt us again. So Olivia Brown, for her action, will do crowd control. She will swap the location of these two, and that goes there. Mayor Brian Lee will now add this carrier. It has to touch as many cards as possible. Anywhere other than here, it only is adjacent to one card, so we have to put it there. And then for his action, he will evacuate. Actually, no, he will not. Well, yeah, so let's see. So Olivia Brown's going to have to reveal 2, which will be this. So yeah, we need to get these out of there. So he's going to evacuate. So these 3 hostiles, we now have 4 of the 15 hostiles in the evacuation pile, and this celebrity, Colby Douch, is now safe. Olivia Brown must resolve a Raxxon card. Spokesperson, part 1. If a celebrity were face up in the crowd, fortunately we got Colby Douch out of there, this card would trigger, but there isn't one, so it goes into the untriggered discard pile. And now she must flip 2 cards. We know this is a carrier, which will make us resolve a Raxxon card. Optimism, if there are no infected cards or hostile cards face up, there are 2 infected cards, so this is untriggered. And then she must flip up this card, a hostile. All right, let's have Olivia Brown. Let's have Olivia Brown do crowd control and swap these 2. Now Brian Lee must add 1 card. We don't know what this is. Let's do that. And then he must add another card. Let's do that. Oh, actually, no, it has to touch 2 cards, so it's going to go one of these 2 places. Well, let's put it here. And then for his action, he's going to quarantine to move these 2 face-up cards into the contained quarantine pile. Olivia Brown resolves a Raxxon card. Olivia Brown, part 2. Part 1 is not in play yet. And then she's going to have to flip up all of these cards. We will start here a familiar, and here another hostile, which would mean we flip up another card, but there aren't any. So for her action, she's just going to investigate, but there's nothing to investigate, so there is no effect. Brian Lee will add 1 card here, and then add another card here. And then he must flip 1 card. Let's flip this one. And now he must execute a Raxxon card. Katie James, the writer of 50 Shades of Grey, is not in play. Katie James is, I believe, the Centers for Disease Control official, one of the characters we're not using. And now Brian Lee will investigate. All right. Olivia Brown must execute a Raxxon card. Brian Lee, part 2. Part 1 is not in play yet. And then she must flip up a ton of cards, but there are none to be flipped up. So she will evacuate this row right here. So this is our 6th hostile out of play, and our 2nd familiar. Brian Lee must add 1 card. Let's put that there. He must add a 2nd card. That has to go there. He must now flip 1. And now he must resolve a Raxxon card. DNA, if Raxxon's power is 1 or greater, it is 1. You report to the quarantine facility for duty. You're told, new policy, all those entering the facility must be verified with a finger prick blood sample. Option 2 is we can say, yeah, sure, I get it, security is important, and let them finger prick a blood sample from us, in which case Raxxon's power would go up 1. We're not going to do that. Wait, I don't think we are. What's option 1? No, I'm not giving you my DNA. You're not pricking my finger. I would say petulantly. The player who drew this card may not use quarantine actions for the rest of the day. Put this card in the untriggered pile instead of the triggered one. All right. You're not pricking my finger. And no more quarantines for Brian Lee, who will instead evacuate. So this familiar, all the familiars have been evacuated from the city, and a second celebrity, Nadia Rivers, has been evacuated. Nadia has been moved to safety. Oh, and this hostile. Olivia Brown's turn. She is going to pass. And then Brian Lee's turn. He also is going to pass. So for the end of the day, we flip up. There are no infected, so it does not add any infected to the hostile. The crowd gets shuffled back into the population deck. And our contained quarantine moves to uncontained. All in all, I would say we had a very good first day. We remove these tokens. First player moves over to Brian Lee, and we deal out the crowd for the day. Brian Lee will investigate. Let's start up here. Olivia Brown will investigate. We flip 2 hostiles, so we must reveal a third card. When a chaotic comes into play, we have to add 1. Let's go here. Brian Lee will investigate. Olivia Brown will investigate. Brian Lee will investigate. All right, now we have to be careful because if a 4th hostile flips, it's the end of the day. Olivia Brown will crowd control. Brian Lee will evacuate. So that is 10 of the 15 hostiles removed from the deck. Olivia Brown has to flip 2 cards, a hostile and an innocent. Awesome. And then she will do a skilled quarantine, which will move these 2 and this to contained quarantine, and we're going to resolve a Raxxon card to move an additional to contained quarantine. Raxxon's propaganda, this moves up. 1 card escapes. We'll have the carrier go out. And these are shuffled back into the Raxxon deck. All right, Brian Lee has to add 1 card. It must go here. Let's do door to door. We're going to look at these 3 cards and then put them back in any order. All right, I'd love to get this family out of here because there's a Raxxon card that makes family leave evacuation to go looking for other family members, and that's a huge pain in the butt. We don't want that to happen. So I'm glad to know where both of the families are, the remaining ones. There's 1 there. So we're going to go family, celebrity, chaotic on top of our population deck. And then that adds a token here. All right, Olivia Brown must add 1. That is there. It's the family. She must resolve a Raxxon card. Friends Forever, Part 2. Part 1 is not in play. Now she must flip up 2 cards. So we know it's safe to flip up the family, and let's flip this one up. A susceptible. Yeah, let's get these families out of here. So she's going to evac. All the families are now out of the deck. We only have 4 hostiles left, and our first innocent is out. All right, Brian Lee must add 1. This was one of our celebrities. Let's do that and build some evacuatables right here. And now we add the chaotic right there. And then for Brian Lee's turn, yeah, let's investigate. All right, Olivia Brown must resolve a Raxxon card. Raxxon's promises. This moves up to 3. 1 card escapes. Let's move over to that volatile. And Friends Forever Part 2 gets shuffled back into the deck. So we now have 6 of these Raxxon cards left in here that will move this up that we can't avoid. All right, Olivia Brown must add a card. It must go here. She must resolve a Raxxon card. Brian Lee, Part 2. Part 1 is not in play. And she now must flip 2 cards. All right, I feel a lot better knowing where 3... So there are 4 hostiles left. Yeah, so I think it's safe to just flip the ones we haven't seen. Awesome. I mean, let's do a skilled quarantine. So we are taking 1, 2, 3, putting them in contained quarantine. Brian Lee must add a card. He must add another card. And then for his action, let's just investigate. Olivia Brown must resolve a Raxxon card. Family, if there are exactly 1 or 2 family cards in the evac pile. There aren't. All 3 of them got out, so that's untriggered. She must add a card. It has to go there. She must resolve a Raxxon card. Spokesperson, Part 1. If a celebrity is face up, there is not. Now she must flip up 2 cards. So we have this chaotic, we have this healthy card, forget what it is. So let's see what we have here. All right, good. And let's flip up this healthy card. Celebrity, oh, there we go, Monica Rojas. All right, so she is going to crowd control by swapping these 2. All right, Brian Lee has to add a card. It must go there. He has to add another card. Let's do this. And then I'm going to request an airstrike to kill this row here. All right. Olivia Brown first has to resolve a Raxxon card. Raxxon's power, this goes to 4. 1 card escapes quarantine. Let's move out a carrier. These are shuffled back into the deck. All right, she must add a card. It has to go here, which should be touching 2 cards. She must resolve a Raxxon card. The Helper, Part 1. If a non-hostile healthy card is face up and there are 1 or more cards in the uncontained quarantine, there are. Look, mister, I'm healthy. I want to save this city just like you. Jeepers, wouldn't it be better for me to help than leave? He says, or she. Option 1. You gotta admit that for a kid, he's pretty good at this. Right this way, Mr. Infected Sir, you say. Immediately move up to 4 cards in the uncontained quarantine to the contained quarantine. That's a waste. Option 2, you know Raxxon wouldn't like outsiders interfering. Kid, let the professionals do their job, okay? You tell him or her. Place this card in the untriggered pile. All right. So the thing is, Part 1 will then sit in play, and whenever we flip up Part 2, it will trigger. Honestly, we're not getting much benefit from it. I'm kind of tempted to take this. I feel like we're doing really well. So I'm actually going to go ahead. Normally I would never do this, and if I lose, let's all remember back to this moment. I'm going to go ahead and move Raxxon power up, and then place this card in the untriggered pile. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. All right, we resolve a Raxxon card again. Raxxon's Lies goes up to 6. This is out. 1 card escapes. This is shuffled back into the deck. And now we have to flip up a total of 3 cards, so we don't know what we're dealing with, so let's see. A Chaotic adds 1. Let's flip up another one. An Innocent, and then Our third card is a hostile, which means we have to flip up another one. A volatile. All right, let's see. He's adding a ton of cards on his turn. He won't be flipping any of them. So it might be a good time to do some crowd control again. Yep, we're going to do crowd control and swap these two. All right, Brian Lee must add a card. It can go here or here. At this point, I'm assuming we're dealing with more infected, so I'm putting that there. He must add a card. Well, he's got to have one there anyway. And he must add a third card. All right, and then for his turn, quarantine. Add these two cards to the contained quarantine, and then we're going to resolve a Raxxon card to move an additional one. Let's move the volatile. Spokesperson, part one. If there's a celebrity face-up, there is Monica Rojas in play. She's a celebrity. She's done so much for us as a Zamoxtran spokesperson. We need to move her out of the city to speak on the airwaves, to give hope to the masses. All right, Monica Rojas. Option one, fine. Let them have their girl, their guy, their chick, their TV reporter. One less thing to worry about. Move one face-up celebrity card from the crowd to the evac pile. I like that. But then, of course, spokesperson is in play. Part two is we add two cards and flip one, or option two. And that's where we put our foot down. No special treatment for Monica Rojas, we demand. The celebrity raises a ruckus. Place this card in the untriggered pile, and then we add two and flip one. I mean, I kind of like the idea of getting her there, but then we're vulnerable to this being in play. And frankly, let's see, we're not going to be able to get everyone out this turn. We've only got two more evacuations left. Let's add two and flip one. So that one there goes first, that one goes there. And then put this in the untriggered pile. It can happen again. And then let's flip one. All right, a chaotic means we add one. Let's add one here. All right, and that was Brian Lee's evac, or his quarantine. Olivia Brown must resolve a Raxxon card. Raxxon's leverage, we are at 7. Shoot a monkey. One of these escapes. This gets shuffled back. Oh, wait. Yeah, this gets shuffled back in. All right, she must add one. The last card must go there. Resolve two Raxxon cards. Conspiracy, part one. If Raxxon's power is 2 or greater, it is. And there are one or more non-hostile healthy cards in the crowd. Psst, over here. You don't trust those Raxxon people, do you? Here, take this syringe. It counteracts the low-level hallucinogens Raxxon is feeding you, man. I feel like it's Dennis Hopper talking to us. So option one, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and you take the shot. Place this card in front of you. While it's in front of you, you may skip drawing Raxxon cards due to consequences after the first one. Or option two, which we can't take because we'd lose the game, is you don't love Raxxon, but you're not an idiot either, so you don't take the syringe. All right, so this goes in front of Olivia Brown. Now, the good news is it means the Raxxon cards after the first don't take effect, so we don't have to do that now. We do, however, have to flip everything up, so I'm afraid this might end the day. Oh, shoot, yeah, hostiles are going to get us, right? Because there's 4 of them out there. All right, we've got to flip 3 cards. So let's just hope maybe we can get... All right, so now we have to add 2, but there are no... Oh, no, the discard pile now gets shuffled. Shoot. We have to add 2. So 1 must go there, 1 must go there. This is our draw deck. How many? That was flipping up 1. We're flipping up a second one. All right, now we have to flip up a third one because it's hostile. That's it, and now she has to flip up 2 more. Shoot. Let's do this. We now must add an infected card, so that's in the discard pile. And then we have to flip up one more. Shoot, no, end of day. Dagnabbit. All right, I was hoping to get one more evacuation out of that. All right, so end of day with the 4 hostiles. It's going to add 4 cards to the infection from the supply. 1, 2, 3, 4. That goes to the discard pile. There's the draw pile. All of these are going to get shuffled together along with the uncontained quarantine, and then contained moves over here. All right, so let's see. We're looking at 4 hostiles, 1 celebrity, 2 innocents, and 2 susceptibles. So we've got 9 cards left. The problem is we are 1 point away from Raxxon ending the game. So we've got to be careful about those card draws. All right, remove the tokens. First player goes back to Olivia Brown, who doesn't have to resolve a Raxxon card after the first one, so actually that's good. And let's get our day 3 crowd into play. Olivia Brown, and let's start up here. Investigate. Brian Lee, investigate. Olivia Brown, investigate. We must add 1 to the infected. Brian Lee. All right, this is officially dangerous, but I want to leave the quarantining to her and investigate. All right, I add 1. All right, Olivia Brown will do a skilled quarantine. 1, 2, 3. We are not moving a 4th card. Brian Lee, investigate. Olivia Brown has to add 1. Let's put it there. She must resolve 1 Raxxon card. Volatile mutation. If there are 1 or more volatiles face up in the crowd, which there are. The sight of these wretches has always made you want to vomit. But they're somehow getting worse. The oozing pus, the swirling flies, and oh God, the smell. We can't do option 2, where you relent. Only Raxxon can make these things disappear. Move all face-up volatile to the quarantine, because that would make us lose the game. So we must do option 1. Place this in the untriggered Raxxon pile, which is that, and take an infection. All right, now she will investigate, which means we add 1. Brian Lee will investigate. There she is. Olivia Brown must add 1. She must resolve a Raxxon card. Brian Lee, part 2. Part 1 is not in play. She is going to do a skilled quarantine. 1, 2, 3. Brian Lee will investigate. Olivia Brown must add 1 card. Let's put that there. She must resolve a Raxxon card, just 1 because of conspiracy. All right, Brian Lee, part 1. If Brian Lee is in the game, Raxxon's power is 3 or greater. It is. Oh, it's 3 or lower. And the player who controls Brian. Oh. So we can't run for election because the Raxxon power track is too high. So that doesn't trigger. All right, Olivia Brown will investigate. We must add 1. Brian Lee will investigate. There are 2, so we must flip up another 1. Shoot. All right, Olivia Brown must add 1. She must resolve a Raxxon card. Optimism. If there are no infected or hostile cards face up, that is not the case. This does not trigger. She will now evacuate this row here. So there are 2 hostiles, and then 2 susceptibles and 2 innocents left. Brian Lee will investigate. Olivia Brown must resolve a Raxxon card. Susceptibility, oh shoot, there is. So there's 1 susceptible in play. Every day the sickness seems to spread faster. Raxxon's offering samples of an experimental vaccine for those susceptible to the virus, but in an airborne, to the virus's airborne form. But option 1, taking a chance on another Raxxon drug isn't worth it. Kill a face-up susceptible. Ugh, we have to do this. And then place this card in the untriggered pile. Shoot. Well, we can't do option 2, which is to take him up on the offer, because it would move this up and we'd lose the game. So this is killed. We're not going to be able to win this turn. We take 1 infection for killing her, and then we take another infection for the effect of the card, and then this goes to the untriggered pile. Shoot. All right, that's okay, though. She now must add a card. And we don't resolve those because the conspiracy. All right, well, let's investigate. Brian Lee will do an airstrike. Kill these. She has to resolve a Raxxon card. Olivia Brown, part 1. If Olivia Brown's in the game and 1 or more infected are face up in the crowd. Not the case. That does not trigger. She must add 1. All right, she will investigate. Chaotic means we must add 1. We must add 1. Brian Lee will investigate. We must flip up another 1. Olivia Brown has to resolve a Raxxon card. Thomas Hart is not in play. And then she must add 1. Well, we know we're going for another day, so she's doing a skilled quarantine. 1, 2, and then 3. And then for her action, she'll do experimental treatment and move all of the chaotics from uncontained to contained quarantine. All right, Brian Lee must add 1. It must go there. He will investigate. Please be green. Yes, sweet. Olivia Brown must resolve a Raxxon card. Gabriel Diaz not in play. She must add 1. And now she is going to evacuate. So all of the hostiles have been rescued. There is 1 susceptible, and there are 2 innocents still out there. Brian Lee is going to investigate. Olivia Brown is going to pass. Brian Lee must add 1 card. He's going to investigate. We must resolve a Raxxon card. Mom, part 1. If there's at least 1 carrier in quarantine, there is. Mom, is that you? Here we go. Sweetie, you've got to get me out of here. You know I'm not one of them. Don't turn your back on your mother. We can't do option 2, which would be, sorry, Mom, it's for your own good. Raxxon will help, because we would lose the game. So we must do option 1. Here, hurry, get out of here. You help her escape. Move a carrier from the quarantine to the population discard pile. It was going to go there anyway. And this has now been triggered because Brian Lee helped his mother escape. His infected zombie mom. Nice move, Brian Lee. That's real political character. All right. So that was him investigating, right? Yeah, shoot. All right, we must add 1, so these are going to get shuffled. And that's got to go there where it's touching 3 cards. So if we bomb a susceptible, it'll add an infected. If we bomb an innocent, And there are a total of 3 of these cards out here. We'll execute a Raxxon card. Let's just do what we can. So let's go ahead and... I don't want to quarantine because I'm loving not having to draw any of these. So let's investigate here. Aha! Hello, Dara Bertman. Let's get you out of there. All right, now we have to add a card. It has to go here. Let's investigate here. All right. Now we have to add a card. Oh, oops, sorry, add a card. What was I thinking? I'm an idiot. Adding a card here, and then because I was going to investigate, we're investigating here, which ends the day. Dagnabbit. All right, well, that's on me. So I know there's at least 4 infected cards. So from the infected pile, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards left, 4 of them are added to our population. There are no uncontained quarantine. All right, honestly, I didn't think we were going to make it through that day. We know there's no hostiles in play. It's just the 2 innocents and the 1 susceptible. If we can get them out of there without triggering Raxxon power. And we know, let's see, the Raxxon cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 9 Raxxon cards have been triggered. So there's 3 of them in this deck here that will end the game. Shoot. All right, these tokens come off. Brian Lee is our first player. And let's lay out our crowd. All right, let's, the door-to-door can't really help us yet. It will let us basically look at 3 cards. I like that idea. So let's start with that. All right, so we can look at these 3. There's a chaotic, a carrier, and a volatile. All right, none that really we care about at this point. Those weren't the 3 we were looking for. Olivia Brown will investigate. Let's start down here. Chaotic means add 1. This is a, put them back in alphabetical order. So this is a carrier. Let's actually do that. Brian Lee has to add 1. There's our chaotic. Let's investigate. Olivia Brown will investigate. Well, hello. Brian Lee has to add 1. We now know that that's a volatile. And he will request an airstrike. On these 3, which we know what they are. Olivia Brown will investigate. Shoot. All right, we have to resolve a Raxxon card. The screams. If there are 1 or more chaotic cards face up, there are. Option 1, add a card to the crowd for each face-up chaotic, and then this is untriggered. Or option 2, kill every face-up chaotic, and every card adjacent to it. Replace this card and then put this in the untriggered. All right, so this is going to constantly cycle as long as, as long as there are face-up chaotics, this can happen. I think we're going to go ahead and kill 2. Yeah, we're going to do it. So we're going to kill every face-up chaotic and every card adjacent to it. All right, good. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Because remember, we just have to find 3 cards. We've got 1 of them. It's just 2 more cards we're looking for. Another innocent, another susceptible. Brian Lee has to add 1. Let's do that. He has to add another 1. Has to go there. He will investigate. All right, we have to execute a card. Unruly, if there are 2 or more hostiles in the crowd. There aren't. And there are too many unaccounted for carriers out there. So let's go ahead and start this up. Let's get her skilled quarantine going, taking these, and I can't imagine we're going to go another day, but we get a third card anyway. Let's move another carrier there. Brian Lee has to add one. It has to touch 2 other cards. Let's do that, and he has to add another one. He will investigate. Chaotic means we add one. Olivia Brown has to add one. She has to do a Raxxon card. The Helper, if a non-hostile card is healthy, is face up in the crowd, and there are 1 or more in the uncontained quarantine, we can't let him not help us. So we say we immediately move up to 4 cards in the uncontained to the contained quarantine. Shoot, all right. And this is untriggered. Oh, this is triggered. So 4 cards, let's see. Move the carrier, and in case we need to do experimental treatment, we have the 3 volatiles. All right, and then she will investigate. All right, Brian Lee has to add 1. He has to add another. And he will investigate. All right, Olivia Brown has to add a card, so these get shuffled. And because I know all of these are infected, I'm going to do another little interface mod, and I'm going to put this into play in that direction. Then she resolves a Raxxon card. Mom, part 2. All right. If Mom part 1 is in play, which it is because Brian Lee let his poor sick mother go out into the zombie apocalypse. Let's see. I'm not even gonna. So, "Grr, honey, come to mama," is the quote that I would read in that high falsetto, but as a zombie. She lurches toward you, eyes sunken, skin a sea of leaking boils. The player who triggered Mom Part 1 makes the following choice. The choice is difficult but straightforward. You kill her. Depression sets in. Kill a face-up infected card in the crowd. You must pass your next turn. Passing meaning we're out of it for this day. Or option 2, Mom, no, please, I can't do it. You walk away and you leave your zombie-infected mom wandering around in the zombie crowd. Place this card in the untriggered pile and do an infection, which we might as well do. Yeah, we can't pass our next turn. He's still got too much to do. So what is it? Yeah, so place this card in the untriggered pile, and we then add this. We only have 1 more card in the infected pile left to the discard. All right, so nice work. And we actually still need to know about that because we let Mom wander off. She could come back. Actually, she can't because if the card gets shuffled back in there, it will make us lose the game. So, all right, so that was Olivia Brown's Raxxon card. Her action is quarantine. Brian Lee must add 2 cards. So let's see. So touching 2 is the most we can do. So that and that. He will investigate. Volatile. Olivia Brown must add a card. She must do 1 Raxxon card. Better off dead if Raxxon's power is 2 or greater and there's at least 1 face-up hostile. There is not. Let's investigate. Here. All right, hello. All right. Brian Lee must add a card. He must add another card. And he will investigate. Let's see, we need to set them up for an evac, which, let's investigate here. All right. She must add a card. We know it's a volatile. She must resolve one Raxxon card. Insta-test. Oh, shoot. So this is where, well, hey, we've been using this new Raxxon Insta-test device in the crowd all day, but I swear it's coming up the opposite of the result you'd expect. So we can't do option 2, which is, what, are you a scientist now? Just report the results and move on, idiot. Because that would make us lose the game. So we must do option 1. Let's restart testing without the gadget. Flip all the cards face down, shuffle them up, and then deal them out into face down rows of 3. And this is triggered. So, shoot. All right, everything now gets shuffled up. These were all in the crowd, so we're gonna have 6 face down rows of 3 cards. I think that'll be all of these. No, it won't quite be all of them. Well, actually, let's see. 1, I'm gonna actually start from the bottom. I hope that's not cheating. Yeah, we're gonna go off camera here. So, all right, you can't see this very top row. So I'm just gonna overlap them like that. All right, we don't resolve these because of conspiracy. So she is going to investigate. We don't have any to add, they're all out there. Brian Lee, none to add, he's gonna investigate. She is going to investigate. We have to add 2, but there aren't any to add. Brian Lee is going to, well, airstrike just means they're gonna come back in. That's okay, because we'll know where they are. But we're running out of airstrikes. Yeah, we can't risk, well, actually, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. All right, so there's still 3 chaotics out there. Yeah, we can't do it. So we're gonna have to do an airstrike. Which is good, because now I can move the cards down. And then there's our discard pile. All right, she's got to add a card, which then shuffles our discard pile up. And it actually has to go right here where it's touching 2 cards. And then she resolves 1 Raxxon card. If Raxxon's power is 1 or greater, we can't do option 2. So the player who drew this card may not use quarantine actions the rest of the day. That's okay. Investigate. We must add 1. Has to go there. Investigate. Shoot. Dagnabbit. All right. The infection supply is empty. If we have to add another one, we lose. Did I add cards? No, I didn't. That should be added. Yeah, and his investigate put this, okay, in the discard pile, so it will become the draw pile in a minute. Let's see. This is the discard, population deck discard. That's in play. All right. Olivia Brown cannot quarantine. Let's flip 1. All right, Brian Lee. I mean, the last airstrike. Yeah, that's airstrikes. We can't have a volatile flip up. Oh, no, before he airstrikes, so this has got to be put into play there. Now he airstrikes. So actually, that's the discard pile, and that's his last airstrike. Oh, this is not gonna happen. This is terrible. Olivia Brown has to add a card, so shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. It's got to go there. She's got to resolve a Raxxon card. Friends Forever Part 1. If a familiar is face up in the crowd, there is not. Let's investigate. All right, Brian Lee has to add cards, so that can go there, and this will go. Let me move these down. This will go here. Let's investigate. Olivia Brown has to add one, but there are none to be added. So a Raxxon card. Olivia Brown Part 2. Part 1 is not in play. Let's investigate. A Raxxon card. Shoot. The Helper Part 2. Part 1 is not in play. Brian Lee. We have to add cards. There are none to be added. So let's investigate. Chaotic means add one, but there are none to be added. Add, but there are none. She's got to resolve this. Spokesperson Part 1. If a healthy celebrity is face up, there is not. I mean, just because we have to track where everything is, let's do a medicinal attack. Kill a card face up in the crowd. If we resolve a Raxxon, we can kill adjacent cards. So we're killing these. We have to then resolve this. Meryl Wolf Part 2. Part 1 is not in play. Brian Lee, we have to add cards. He has to add, what, 4 cards. So touching 2 cards is 1. Actually, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, like that works. And then for his action, investigate. So we see all of these. If we could make, we need to get 3 cards out. So investigate there. That's a volatile. She must add one. There are none to be added. She's got to resolve a Raxxon card. Oh, shoot. Dagnabbit. So we knew here, 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 and here. Yeah, of these 4, 3 are healthies. Dagnabbit. We got close. We had the row set up, some crowd control. Actually, I think the crowd, well, she could have done the medicinal attack. I don't know. It was possible, but I feel too like using his door-to-door. The key to winning these games is taking advantage of a character's, not just their tweaked common actions, but their unique actions. And I mean, I did get a healthy quarantine. I was keeping that maintained. I didn't need her experimental treatment for it. But I feel like the door-to-door, I didn't really make good enough use of that. But, oh, the Raxxon cards every time. At least I didn't lose to the depleted infection supply. That's really embarrassing when you lose that way. But I would have at the end of the day. So, all right, that was game 1. The next game we'll play with 2 of the remaining 6. There are 4 characters remaining we haven't played. Next game will be with 2 of those. So join me for that, and maybe I'll have better luck. Cheers. Oh, shoot a monkey.